Hello everyone, so for today's video I wanted to share my version of a travel altar. I'll be using this for an upcoming trip. A few of these items I wouldn't typically bring with me, but for this one I will. Typically I will change it up depending on, when I'm going to be gone. If I'm gone for any of the spokes of the Wheel of the Year, I will typically alter the altar for whatever I'm needing, such as the summer solstice. I would bring like a yellow candle, or if it's Samhain, I might bring like a crystal skull or a pumpkin of sorts, just kind of whatever I might need for that time. So what is a travel altar? It's just what it sounds like. It's a small collection of items to bring with you when you're traveling. You may find that you have kind of a generic set of your basic witchcraft needs, or like me, you'll have particular items selected for your upcoming trip, knowing you might need certain items. This will vary also if you are going on an airplane, traveling internationally, or going by car. Again, you kind of have to tailor it to also where you're going and how you're going to get there. So the first thing I have for my travel altar is a black cloth. Depending on what I'll be doing while away will depend on what color I use. I brought yellows and oranges for summer solstice celebrations, while this one is more black to represent mourning, grief, death, reflection, and protection. This is one that I have used many times, so it is a little worn, but it's one of my favorites to use for just kind of an all-around purpose. So the next thing I include is my elemental stones or representations. Some people use actual items such as a feather, a shell, a rock, or other items to represent the elements. Personally, I prefer these simple stones with the elemental symbols drawn on them. This is perfect for casting a circle or just placing on your altar cloth for protection or whatever you are doing at your travel altar. Typically, I will also have some type of representation for my deities. For my current trip, I'll be bringing a small statue for the Morrigan, which is really just a rock in the shape, in my mind, of a crow's skull. And I've got my Odin and Thor statues that I got from Grimfrost. The Morrigan statue is, again, I found a rock and I used that. And the two statues I purchased from Grimfrost. I believe they are currently in stock, but they do sometimes sell out, but they usually restock them at some point if you do want to pick them up. Depending on where you're staying, candles may or may not be allowed. For our current trip, I'm probably going to be burning these outside as we, either spread the ashes or go back later to do our own ceremony, since my family is Christian that we're going to visit. But if you're unable to actually burn the candles, you can just set them out. You don't have to light them and, just focus your intention to use them instead. So I'll eventually make a separate video on this, but I'll be bringing the funeral herbal blend that I made in 2019 after my mother-in-law passed away unexpectedly. At her funeral, we actually burned the incense, but at our current one that we'll be going to, it's in a different state. So I'm just going to sprinkle some of these in the area instead of bringing a cauldron and a charcoal disc. I'll also be bringing a crystal skull. Now, I bought this years ago from a local shop called Crone's Hollow, and I'll be using this as a major part of my meditations while we're away. I always like to bring a deck when I travel, and for this journey, I am going to be bringing my Halloween Oracle. This deck seems the most appropriate for myself since the imagery has always spoken to me, and during the grieving process, the less effort I have to put into my magic, the better. One thing I always bring with me is a notebook. This is my current working book of shadows, or like my book of knowledge. So I'll write down any rituals that I do in this as well as any meditations. Usually I will bring my regular journal as well to recount my days. There I put more than just my magical things, what happened in the day, my thoughts and whatever. Whereas my book here that you're seeing is specifically for actual magical workings and things that I'm doing. The final thing that I'll be bringing is my set of runes. While I'm not quite studying them yet, I am getting more accustomed to them, and in my opinion, kind of going through these times is a great way to start connecting with them. Even just having them around, you don't have to use them, but just having them on your altar is a way to kind of get to know their energy, get to know your energy, and it's a great way to kind of begin that connection with them before even just jumping into trying to figure out what they mean. So I'm not including this as part of the actual altar side of things. This is actually going to be hanging in my car because I am driving for my trip. And so for this, it is a Thor's hammer, again from Grimfrost, that I am going to be charging and, blessing for protection for our upcoming trip, since it is a lot of driving and in new roads and areas. So it's not part of the altar, but I'm also just including it in this just so you kind of have an idea if you are driving. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this gave you some ideas of what to bring when traveling. Like I said, every trip I take my altar and it varies year to year, just depending on what I need. And if you are traveling right now, please make sure you're doing all of the recommendations and precautions. Each state right now is a little bit different, and so just keeping in mind that if you're watching this in the future, this is still during the fun times of 2021 and 2020, so just as a quick aside. If you like my content, please consider supporting me on Patreon at patreon.com/nightwillowcrafts. I do have a lot of more content going up there now in the next month. I am having an exclusive book discussion on Asatru for beginners coming, and I will also be having a monthly vlog for those of you who want a little more behind the scenes. And I'll probably have other stuff going up as well, but those are at least my two currently planned additional content that'll be going up on Patreon in the next, couple weeks. So thank you so much again for watching. If you want to follow my other social media things, they are in the description down below. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. And again, links down below. You can always find me on my author channel. I upload there weekly as well. So again, links down below. Thank you so much for watching. If you have a travel altar and you're comfortable sharing, please tag me on Instagram or on Facebook and, post a video response and link it down below showing off your travel altars. I think it's always exciting to see what other people include in theirs. But until next week, thank you so much for watching, and I will talk with you all then.